Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our debate competitions. My name is Aqshol Cahya Dinullah, and I'm going to be the first speakers of the opposite teams. And I'm also will giving you some rebuttal of the first speakers from the affirmative teams, and I also will give my own point of view about what we have in this motion today. So the first of all, I'm gonna giving you the motions that we have today. The motion is this House prefers the strategies of pushing for institutional reform to address police abuse and misconduct rather than defunding the police. And we are, as the opposite teams, me, myself, as the opposite teams, are disagree with this type of motions. First of all, before we go to my own point of view, I will give some rebuttal to the first speakers from the affirmative teams. There is two rebuttals I will give. The first one is about the minor point. The minor point, there is two minor points that we have today. The first minor point is about the cameras. Cameras are pretty much expensive, and there's much police in the police department, and it will cost a lot. And also the police will be much easier to lie because they can just pretend they leave the cameras at home. And now about the independent. I believe it was the independent consuls. Independent consul will cause less trust from the police department because they will feel like the people doesn't need them. So it will cause more rebel, and police will do more violations and more abuse to the people. Now I already explained the minor point that we have, ladies and gentlemen. Now we are going to this major point that we have. Major point. The first speakers from the affirmative teams mentioned two major points. The first one is society security, and the second one, I believe, is about the effectiveness of this reform institutional thing. First, we are going to talk about the social security. The social security. He say in the social security point that not all police will get police will not get money even when they didn't do nothing wrong. Of course, this is not right, because even if the police is not doing something bad, they will still get this fund, because the defunding things only given to the police that making something wrong or do abuse or violation thing. Now he also talk about how it will lower the police effectiveness if defunding happens. He talk about like lost staff, people will not work, and others. Actually, it still can be fixed. If people doesn't want to work just because they didn't get defund, just because they get defund, the police department can just fire them. And if it's actually work, people can still use people's powers. The police can still use people's powers, but by using some type of laws. So the police and people can work together on this one. Now we are going to the second points that the affirmative say, the first speakers of the affirmative say. So he say about people, not all people are basically racist, but the fact is people are racist. All humans in this world are basically indirectly racist. So it always happens. And he also say that by having lots of different cultural, different racial policemen, and having this reform institutional thing will help to reduce the higher risk of criminal rape. I myself basically kind of disagree with this type of motions, this type of arguments, because in Indonesia, if you take a look at the country in Southeast, called Indonesia, it used some type of reformal institutions, but the police still do abuse and violation. For example, the police in Bali abuse the foreigner or tourist from Japan just because he didn't bring his license, and the police ask lots of money. It's really bad. So even reformal institutional cannot work on Indonesia, because in Indonesia it was too soft. So this defunding police is needed. I already explained the rebuttal that we have today, ladies and gentlemen. Now I wanna giving you 3 points that I have. about these motions, because we are basically disagree with the motion. The first point that we have, ladies and gentlemen, is defunding the police will make us safer. Why I say defunding the police will make us safer? Because when the police get defunded, the police will be scared. The police will be afraid to do this type of violations, because the police also cares about the economies and stuff. So there will be not only violation get stopped, but the other police also getting scared to do this type of police abuse, because they're also scared about their money, about the economy thing. And then the second point that we have, ladies and gentlemen, is that defunding the police will stop racism. As I say in the first point, is that it will make the police scared, which means there is no much more racism will happen, because the police keep getting forced and pushed to not do this type of things. Maybe the police department can make it lower about the defunding thing, so the police will be much more scared and there's no more racism can happen. And now the third point that we have, the last point, ladies and gentlemen, is about the defunding. Defunding the police will cause a trust from the people. Why I say it will cause trust from the people? Because if we defunding the police will be scared. As I say in my first and my second point, I emphasize again. So if the police scared, there will be no much more violations again, and people can go out and just didn't care about getting abused by the police. So there will be much safer environments, only with a little push, of course, but it's still safer. That's why I believe that pushing for institutional reform is not right. And I believe defunding the police will be much better solutions in this era that we have today. Thank you so much for your attention. Back to the second speakers of the affirmative teams.